This video will cover homeostasis as part of the tissues and homeostasis lecture. At the end of this video, you should be able to define homeostasis and define negative feedback. Define the components of homeostasis, which mean set point, stimulus, sensor, control center, and response, and be able to give at least one example of homeostasis, probably more. In class, we'll be working on more examples and probably diagramming these out as well. What's homeostasis? Homeostasis is the ability to maintain a consistent internal state despite a changing external state. This does mean that there are some fluctuations, but they are around a set point. And take, for example, the human body. The human body temperature is the same when swimming in cold water as when basking in the sun. Negative feedback is used to correct deviations from a set point. Negative feedback will move things back towards the set point if they are moving away from the set point. If you are out near the beach and you got too hot, you may start sweating, which will, through evaporation, move your body temperature back down. Or you may go swimming, which will, through contact with the cold water, move your body temperature back down. If you are too hot, these types of negative feedback make you less hot. If you got too cold by sitting in that cold water, you may start to shiver. The movement of muscles when shivering will raise your temperature. If you are too hot or too cold by being in the water, you may also choose to get out of the water and bathe in the sun. This will bring your temperature back up. These corrections from the deviations from the set point are types of negative feedback. So let's look again at thermoregulation in the example of a thermostat. Homeostasis of this room relies on negative regulation, negative feedback away from the deviation. So let's put the room temperature at 20 degrees Celsius, and that is our set point. The set point is where homeostasis goes around. There is a stimulus, like the room temperature decreasing. A stimulus is anything that's moving away from the set point. A sensor will detect the movement away from the set point, and that will be something like the thermostat. The thermostat has a rheostat in it that will detect any changes in the temperature. The control center is the inner cogs and workings of the thermostat, and that thermostat will then turn the heater on. So the control center is going to look at a deviation, know the set point, and move things around. That moving things around is the response. It is what occurs to correct a deviation from a set point. In this case, the thermostat turning a heater on, which increases the room temperature, which brings the room temperature back to the set point. In the body, you may have a normal body temperature of around 36 to 38 degrees Celsius. This is your set point. A stimulus might be cold skin, indicating a decrease in body temperature. Sensors are nerves in the skin that will detect this change in body temperature. The control center is the hypothalamus, which will recognize the change and start a response. And the response is that blood vessels in the skin will constrict, which will mean less heat loss to the external medium. And there will be a response in shivering, which by moving the muscles will increase the body heat. And this response will increase the body temperature, bringing it back to a normal body temperature. We are looking at negative feedback in these examples. An easy bit of confusion is that negative feedback is anything bad and positive feedback is anything good. This is outright wrong. Negative feedback counteracts a deviation from the set point. Positive feedback enhances deviations. So negative feedback is common in the body to maintain homeostasis. The example of the thermostat was negative feedback. The example of body temperature was negative feedback. Positive feedback is far less common. For positive feedback, think of talking in a bar. If you are talking in a crowded bar and other people are talking, you will talk louder to talk over them. They will talk louder to talk over you. You will talk louder to talk over them. They will talk louder to talk over you, and eventually everyone is shouting. This is positive feedback, promoting a change, in this case, a positive change in the volume of the bar. There's also the example of giving birth, where the fetus's head will press against the cervix, which will cause release of oxytocin, which will cause contractions in the uterus, which will push the fetus against the cervix, which will cause release of oxytocin, which will enhance the squeezing of the uterus, which, as we see, creates change. Eventually, change will occur with positive feedback. Negative feedback promotes homeostasis, this relatively stable point despite changes in the external world.